Welcome to the MS&Me Radio Network, a division of the Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network. The following program broadcast is an original creation by the broadcast entity. Discussion within the following broadcast should be used for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice or consultation. Before considering application of any broadcast content in the following program, please consult your healthcare provider. If you feel you are having a medical emergency, please contact your local health services for immediate assistance. MS&Me Media and the Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network do not guarantee or warrant the accuracy of information in the broadcast to follow. The Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network provisions broadcast services to program hosts. Information discussed in the broadcast does not necessarily reflect the views, opinions, or goals of the network and are solely those of the show broadcast host. Should you wish to host a broadcast, please visit our website at msmemedia.com and submit a request to become a program host. We thank you for listening to the MS&Me Radio Network. Enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lauren Parrot, and you are listening to the MS&Me Radio Network. Welcome to my very first broadcast. We are sponsored and powered by the MS Global Support Network 24/7 internationally. I couldn't be more honored to be talking to you today, and I'd like to give you a little bit of my background, and I want to tell you about myself for this first episode. I have been living with relapsing remitting multiple sclerosis since 2000. I was 16 years old at that time, and I started noticing some peculiar changes in my body. I had been tripping and falling all of the time. I was extremely tired, and I became very depressed. After living like this for 2 years, and after seeing different doctors, I was officially diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. But I was able to stay positive after my diagnosis because it was an answer to many questions that I had been having for 2 years. And I have an amazing family that supported me tremendously. I remember the day that I was diagnosed so clearly. It was very early on a Friday morning, and it was 5 days before I graduated from high school. I didn't tell anyone about my diagnosis because I didn't even know what multiple sclerosis was at that time. I was crying a lot that day, and I remember my high school friends thought that I was crying because I was so sad to be leaving high school. Yeah, right, guys. If they only knew why I was really crying. In the beginning of my MS journey, I didn't really experience too many symptoms. I was relatively normal. I thank God for that because I was so young and I was able to do most things that everyone else was doing my age. So I was diagnosed in June of 2002, and I left for college to go to Michigan State University in August of 2002. The thing that I'm always reminded of by my mom is that I tried to avoid learning about MS. I didn't care to learn at that time because I was trying to adapt to college. I loved going to all of my classes and meeting new people. I was majoring in communications and I wanted to work in television. I was able to walk all around Michigan State University's campus, and I loved it. I got an internship, and I was a reporter at a local TV station called Home TV, and it stood for Hazlitt, Okemos, and Meridian Townships. I was also focused on doing my readings for school and finishing my homework. My social life at Michigan State University was awesome. I had a lot of fun, from tailgating before football games to bar nights at Rick's to house parties. I had a blast. Quick side note, I started taking MS medications as soon as I was diagnosed, and I actually have a very low tolerance to alcohol. So I was really careful about how much I drank in school. Plus, I dated my high school sweetheart all through college, so I was never really in a shady situation. But the most fun thing for me in college was acting on a campus soap opera. I played Janet Young, and I became incredibly good friends with the other actors on the show. In fact, I was just talking about my friend Susan Coletti, who played my roommate Megan on the show. Susan, she would always say, "Hey girlfriend, let's hang out after filming the show, okay?" Or she would go, "Holla," she would say, "Girlfriend, let's go get a drink." I loved Susan. I love her. And, because of her, I still call people girlfriend all the time. I even call my dog Trixie girlfriend. I say to her, like, "Come on, girlfriend, let's go outside." "Come on, girlfriend, let's get a treat." Every day. And it always makes me think of Susan, and it makes me think of how much fun I had at Michigan State University. I was unbelievably fortunate because I was accepted to have another internship at ABC's Good Morning America in New York City between my junior and senior years of college. I worked in the offices uptown near Columbus Circle, and I was living in an apartment downtown on the Lower East Side in Alphabet City. I lived on East 7th Street between Avenues B and C. I absolutely loved this internship. I was working for a national television show every day. I met celebrities very often, and guess what, everyone? They are just normal people too. Some are very friendly, and some aren't so nice. Just like people I'm sure. Celebrities are just normal people. But I walked all around New York City, and it was amazing. But the absolute highlight of my entire experience was meeting my idol, Diane Sawyer. I have always aspired to follow in her footsteps. And she is just as beautiful, smart, kind, and gracious as I was hoping that she would be. I was able to see where her office was, and I got to see what she did for a living on a daily basis. And you know what, though? I learned one of the most important things in my life that summer. I don't think that the dream job that I had always envisioned it was in the cards for me. I really don't think that I would enjoy that job. And I feel so fortunate that I was able to see it for myself. I was able to see my idol, meet her, watch her work, and I'm like, you know what? I really don't think I would like that. Not anymore. So I went back to Michigan State University to complete my senior year of college. My mom would tell me that magazines and incredibly helpful information about MS arrived in the mail at my parents' house. Yet, I didn't care at all. I still did not want to focus on the fact that I was living with a disability. The last thing that I wanted was to be different from everyone else. My mom would save all of those incredibly informative documents, and she would give them to me, and I would just throw them in the trash. And I'm really ashamed to admit that, but that's the truth. That's how badly I didn't want to read about it. I didn't want to know. I just didn't want to be reminded that I was living with a disability. I was different. I'm like, but I just don't want to read about the truth. And there were also so many programs at Michigan State University that I could have taken advantage of, but I refused. I just wanted to live like all of the other normal students. but my whole life changed in 2007. After I graduated from Michigan State University in May of 2006, I spent that summer looking for jobs. I found a job that seemed great at first. It was a sales job for a company that sold monogrammed floor mats in restrooms, and they provided cleaning supplies to companies. Now, I love talking to people, so I figured that this job would be a piece of cake. Little did I know that the job entailed me not only talking to people to find new clients, but I also had to provide services for their current clients. The services included replacing their dirty floor mats with clean floor mats, replacing air fresheners around their offices and bathrooms, and bringing new paper towels and hand soaps. Okay, I understand that is part of the job, but when I was continually going into male restrooms at gas stations to replace dirty mats that were in front of urinals with clean mats in front of urinals, my stress level skyrocketed. I was thinking to myself, oh my gosh, what did I get myself into? This is disgusting. This is so gross. This is not what I thought I would be doing after I received my bachelor's degree in communications from Michigan State University. I was like, oh my God, what would Diane Sawyer think of me now? I felt like such a loser. So, in conjunction with some incredibly stressful things that were happening with my family, I ended up getting in a rollover car accident on the freeway. And I thank God that nobody was injured, including myself. But that accident triggered a full-blown MS exacerbation. I really look at that experience as a blessing in disguise, because after the relapse, I really started accepting the fact that I was living with multiple sclerosis, and I really needed to learn more about it. I stopped throwing away all of the informative documents and magazines that came in the mail, and I started reading everything, and I mean everything. I read it all. I ended up having new symptoms after my relapse. I couldn't walk I can't walk for long distances. And I thank God that I was able to walk around Michigan State's campus, and I was able to walk around New York City all over the place, because after my relapse, there's no way that I could have done those things. I would have had to take buses at school or taxi cabs around New York. A major problem for me at this time was that I didn't know anyone else that was living with MS. My parents, they have a family friend, her name is Debbie Demers, that is also living with MS. Debbie has been my angel because she has helped me tremendously. However, Debbie is married and she has 4 children, so I couldn't relate to her on a lot of different levels. I actually have a background in working in television, and this is before I was at Michigan State. I was working in television, and then I had my internships that I told you about. But because of my experience in television, at this time I told my family, I said, there has to be somebody else my age out there somewhere that is living with MS. I want to make a video and put it on YouTube to see if I can find another 23-year-old girl, because I was 23 years old at this time. I want to find another 23-year-old girl who's also living with MS and maybe, just maybe, has been through a relapse. Again, this was in 2007. And YouTube was not really that popular at that time. Today, everybody and anybody is on YouTube. people are making millions on YouTube. But in 2007, it really wasn't that popular. But I wanted desperately to find people. I wanted to find someone. So that video that I posted opened the floodgates. Not only did I hear from other 23-year-old girls that were living with MS and have also been through an exacerbation, but I also heard from men, women of all ages who are in the same exact position that I was. Then I started hearing from people from other countries. I was exploding with happiness. I'll never forget receiving a YouTube video from my dear friend Carl Caputo, who lives in the UK. I was sitting at my computer sobbing while I was listening to his accent. I was thinking to myself, I was like, oh my gosh, is this really possible? I mean, again, it's so hard because today it's so normal, like it doesn't sound like a big deal today in 2017, but back in 2007, it was unheard of. At least for me it was. So I continue making YouTube videos to track the progress of my exacerbation with the hopes of helping other people. But these videos became so much more than talking about my relapse. I learned that this is a global phenomenon. I have met people from all over the world that are also living with multiple sclerosis. We are different in every possible way imaginable, but we can understand each other entirely when it comes to living with multiple sclerosis. In fact, I am more similar to my friend Modi, who lives in the Middle East, than I am to my own mother, because my mom is not living with MS, but Modi is, and so we totally get each other. I'm exaggerating, obviously, but I'm trying to prove a point. Living with MS has opened my eyes to so many different things. I've always been a very sensitive and caring person, but after I started experiencing symptoms from my MS, I started truly understanding people of all ages that are living with different conditions. I've learned to truly empathize with others that are battling with a condition. And I would like to share a couple stories with you about how I was able to relate to someone who's totally different from me. When I was going through my exacerbation, I couldn't walk by myself. I needed assistance from someone else. I was visiting my grandmother, Victoria, at an assisted living home that she was in. Quick side note again, my grandmother was 100% Italian, and we placed her in a home, well, we meaning my mom, placed her in a home that had mostly Italian residents to make her feel comfortable. But she became best friends with a woman from Ireland who had an incredibly thick Irish accent, and it was hilarious. It was so funny. Okay, back to my story. So, I was having trouble walking. And another one of my grandmothers at this home, she offered me her extra walker. Mind you, I was 23 years old, and this woman was 83 years old. But her walker really helped me at that time because I had no balance. I couldn't do it. I couldn't walk alone. So I know what it feels like. I learned what some older people feel like, and I know why they need walkers, because they have no balance. I had no balance, so we were really similar at that time. I also learned that there are other people of all different ages living with MS or a similar condition that also need to use walkers. Now I can totally understand how they feel. I'm not that naive. I understand they're very varying levels of the disease. And it doesn't matter how old you are. But that experience truly put things in perspective for me. My second story deals with tremors. During my relapse, I had horrible tremors, especially in my hands and in my head. It was very difficult for me to eat food while using utensils, and I couldn't drink anything out of a glass. The tremors in my hands prevented me from cutting food or grabbing food with a fork, or I couldn't eat soup with a spoon. And if I had soup, it would spill all over because my hand would shake. My hands were so shaky that I couldn't drink out of a glass without spilling all over myself. It was horrible. At that time, I truly began to understand what a person living with a disorder like Parkinson's disease battles with. The situation, it just put things in perspective for me. Having a relapse really taught me not to take anything for granted, because anyone can lose the functionality of parts of their body at any given moment. You never know. You never, ever know. I am blessed because after my relapse, I am capable of walking by myself again, and my tremors decreased significantly. I have made it a priority to stay positive and focus on the things that I am capable of accomplishing. I feel so honored and privileged to make a radio show for the Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network because we have very similar goals. My goal in making my YouTube videos has always been to spread awareness to people about multiple sclerosis and share pertinent information that can help all of us. I was ecstatic to be a part of this network as soon as I read their mission statement. I love speaking on a radio network, and I have so many ideas for future shows. I hope everyone enjoyed my first show. I hope you did. Stay posted because more shows will be coming soon. You can always find me on YouTube. My username is Lauren V. Parrot. And you can also find me on Facebook as well. So please take care. I hope you're doing well, and I hope you have a fabulous day. Bye.